All right, let's talk about the future, specifically your job. In the next few years, we're going to see millions of jobs just disappear. But at the same time, even more are going to be created. It's this huge reshuffle, right? And it's all being driven by things like AI, the big push for a green economy, and just global economics. So what does this actually mean for your career? Well, we're going to dive right into the World Economic Forum's latest Future of Jobs report to figure that out.
You know, the whole report really boils down to two huge questions that honestly affect every single one of us. First, what is work even going to look like by 2030? And second, and this is the big one, is your job future-proof?
Okay, so let's kick things off with a single number that really puts this whole thing into perspective: 22%. Just let that sink in. That's the share of all jobs, we're talking nearly a quarter of the entire workforce, that's expected to be disrupted by 2030. And listen, this isn't just about layoffs. This is a massive structural reshuffling of the entire job market. The WEF even has a name for it. They call it job churn.
And that word, churn, is super important to understand. It's not just a scary word for job loss. Think of it more like a two-sided coin. On one side, yeah, jobs are being displaced. But on the other, brand new jobs are being created. It's the total, massive transformation that we really need to get our heads around.
And this slide, wow, this just lays out the sheer scale of that transformation perfectly. The report projects that 170 million new jobs will be created. That's huge. But at the same time, 92 million are expected to be displaced. So if you do the math, that's a net gain of 78 million jobs, which, I mean, that sounds great on the surface, right? But what that number hides is the massive, life-changing disruption for the millions of people whose jobs are going to vanish or just change completely.
So, you've got to be wondering, right? What in the world is causing all this chaos, this massive churn? Well, the report points to 5 key engines of change that are totally reshaping our world and, of course, how we work. Let's break them down.
Okay, so you can kind of group these forces into a few big buckets. First, you've got the huge technological and environmental shifts. We're talking AI and the whole green transition. Then there are the economic and political pressures, things like inflation and global tensions that we're all feeling. And finally, you've got the purely human stuff, like major demographic shifts happening all over the globe.
So the WEF went and asked employers, hey, which of these forces do you think will have the biggest impact? And their answers? Super clear. Technology, specifically better digital access and AI, is the #1 driver. A full 60% of businesses see it as the most transformative force. And right behind that, the more immediate pressures we're all dealing with, like the rising cost of living and the urgent need to deal with climate change.
Okay, so with all this change flying around, it leads to the billion-dollar question. Where are the new jobs actually going to be? Let's dig into the data and see where the opportunities are popping up from all this churn.
So if you look at the jobs that are growing the fastest by percentage, the pattern is just undeniable. It's all about tech. I mean, look at this list. Big data specialists, AI and machine learning folks, fintech engineers, these roles are absolutely exploding. And it makes sense, right? These are the tools that every single industry is now using to get smarter, faster, and more innovative.
Now, on the flip side of that coin, the jobs that are declining the fastest are the ones that are, well, easiest to automate. Think about those routine, process-driven roles: postal clerks, bank tellers, data entry. Technology is just getting better and way more efficient at doing those specific tasks.
But hang on, here's a really important distinction to make. Fastest growing isn't the same thing as largest growing. When we look at which jobs will add the most roles in terms of sheer numbers, the picture completely changes. I mean, look at the top of the list. A staggering 35 million new jobs for agricultural workers, mostly driven by that green transition we talked about. And right behind them are these foundational jobs like truck drivers, construction workers, and salespeople, sitting right alongside the tech roles. It's a totally different picture.
What this really shows us is a fundamental truth about the future of work. It's becoming less about your specific job title and way more about the skills you have in your toolkit. So, what exactly needs to be in that future-proof toolkit?
Get ready for this number. On average, employers expect that almost 40%, 39% to be exact, of a worker's core skills will need to change in just the next 5 years. Just think about that for a second. Almost half of the skills you rely on to do your job today will be different by 2030. That is a huge shift.
So let's take a look at the current split between what we do and what machines do. And this might actually surprise you.
as of today, humans still perform almost half of all work tasks. The rest is handled by technology or some combination of the two.
But now, look at the projection for 2030. The slice of the pie for tasks done only by humans, it's expected to drop all the way down to just 33%. Technology's role, whether it's pure automation or us working alongside it, is about to get a whole lot bigger.
Okay, so what are the skills that are going to matter most in this new world? The report highlights a real mix. You've got these core skills that are also growing, like creative thinking and knowing your way around AI and big data. Then you've got emerging skills, like environmental stewardship, which are becoming absolutely essential. And this is key. Those uniquely human skills like empathy and active listening, they're as valuable as ever. The future really requires us to be both incredibly tech-savvy and deeply human.
Right. So this all leads us to the final and probably the most important question of all. How do we actually prepare for this? How do we not just survive, but actually thrive in this new world? Let's check out the playbook.
Well, the number one strategy that companies are banking on, and it's not even close, is upskilling. A whopping 85% of companies see training their current employees as the best way to get through this transition. They know it's just way more effective to build on the talent they already have instead of constantly trying to find new people.
But here's the reality check on that upskilling push. While yeah, nearly half the workforce is going to get some kind of upskilling or reskilling, the report points out a really crucial gap. About 11% of workers who need training are probably not going to get it from their employers. And that just hammers home how important it is for you, for me, for all of us to take the initiative for our own lifelong learning.
You know, when you boil it all down, what this really means is that the data can show us which way the wind is blowing, but it doesn't set our course for us. These trends are clear, for sure, but the future of work isn't something that just happens to us. It's something that we are all actively building, together, right now. So really, the only question that matters is the one this report leaves us with. The future isn't fixed, so how are you going to shape yours?